Truth about stupid people that got Socrates killed. The Dunning-Kruger effect. I've actually heard a lot about this, but I haven't seen a dedicated video on it. And I love me some philosophy, so let's talk about it. The only true wisdom is knowing that you know nothing.
Athens.
I will say, very true. The quicker you understand that you know nothing, the more you are to learning more things. Definitely accept your ignorance. You will be much better of a pupil if you do so.
399 BCE. A 70-year-old man drinks poison in a stone cell while his students weep. In a few minutes, hemlock will paralyze his body from the feet up until his heart stops. He chose this.
Jesus.
Could have escaped. Could have apologized. Could have simply stopped talking. He refused. 24 centuries ago, Socrates uncovered a pattern in human psychology so dangerous that an entire city voted to kill him rather than face it.
What?
A pattern that explains why incompetent people radiate confidence, why terrible leaders never resign, why Theranos raised $9 billion, and why you're probably wrong about something important right now. He called it the only thing he knew for certain, that he knew nothing.
True. Yep. I accepted this recently as well.
It started with a mystery.
Before I came back to streaming after my extended break, I accepted that I fucking knew nothing. And I was studying everything with a much more open mind. And it led to a lot of personal growth. I recommend everybody do it. It is a very humbling experience, but it's a very, you will experience the most growth in your life if you accept that you know nothing.
When someone asked the oracle at Delphi, ancient Greece's most powerful prophet, who is the wisest person alive? The answer shocked everyone. Socrates. This made no sense. Here was a stonemason's son who owned nothing, wrote nothing, claimed nothing. Athens overflowed with celebrated generals, renowned poets, famous philosophers. How could this man be the wisest? Socrates thought the oracle had made a mistake, so he set out to prove it wrong. First stop, a decorated general whose battlefield victories were legendary. One simple question. What is courage? Standing firm in battle, the general answered instantly.
It's a good answer.
And the fool who charges into certain death, does he have courage? Or just ignorance of danger?
It's a good rebuttal.
Silence. What about the person who endures years of suffering without complaint? Are they not courageous despite fighting no battles? No answer. Next, a celebrated poet.
Damn, he's kind of on fire,
you
bro.
create beauty with every work. Surely you can define beauty itself? You know it when you see it. Then why do people disagree about what's beautiful? Is beauty in the object or in the observer? What principle guides your pen when you write? Nothing. He questioned politicians about justice, teachers about knowledge, artisans about excellence. Every conversation revealed the same devastating truth. These accomplished people could perform brilliantly, but couldn't explain the principles underlying their expertise. Worse, they had no idea they couldn't.
What the fuck that motherfucker doing to that dog? What's he doing, bro? What? Okay.
Success had created an illusion of understanding. The general thought battlefield victories meant he grasped courage itself. The poet thought creating beauty meant understanding what beauty was. Each confused doing with knowing. Then the oracle's meaning became clear. These experts knew less than they thought and didn't even know they didn't know. They were blind to their own blindness. But Socrates? He at least recognized the ocean of his ignorance. The oracle was right. Not because he possessed superior knowledge, but because he possessed superior awareness. Wisdom begins with admitting how little you understand.
It's very true. And also learning that losing doesn't exist. There's victory and then there's gaining experience. And if you change your mindset for that, you will grow a lot more. In victory, you learn very little, if almost nothing. In defeat, you learn everything. So if you take the things that you fail on, or you take the things that you lose in, and you use those to get better and learn from, you will rapidly accelerate as an individual. That's why people who VOD review in League of Legends and they watch their losses get immense power spikes and game knowledge, rather than people who just say, oh, well, go next. You must learn from your defeats. That's where the most experience can be gained.
But there's a trap built into this pattern. The people who understood the least were the most certain. They would never realize it on their own, because recognizing incompetence requires the very competence they lack.
Yep.
You cannot see your own blindness while blind. 24 centuries later, a man would prove this by robbing banks with lemon juice on his face. January.
You know what's a really good thing that I've never done before until recently? Sometimes I'll just do shit just to like experience how it feels. And some things I actually really like. Like, so for example, when I was growing up as a kid, a lot, well, my parents, they were divorced, obviously. So my childhood wasn't the greatest. There was a lot darker shit. I don't feel like talking about it. But a lot of them treated, well, both of them, treated chores as a punishment, something that I do not want to do. Whenever I did something bad or was framed for doing something bad by my brothers, I was punished to do chores. And so I always consider them like this miserable thing that everybody has to do. They're actually really fun. They're actually very therapeutic. They're very relaxing. It's nice to vacuum your own floors. It's nice to clean up your own house. It's nice to cook your own meals. It's very good. As well as when you're in a relationship, even when you're right and you know you're right, there are arguments where it's better to just say to the other person, hey, you're right. There are some arguments that are not worth winning. There are some points where if the conversation doesn't matter, if the argument doesn't matter, it's okay to just say, hey, sweetheart, you're right. For real, you got to learn to pick your battles. And if you're having some argument over some dumb shit, is it really worth it to like actually have to, no, dude, bologna is better than turkey. Does it really fucking matter? Does it really matter? You really must choose. You must choose your battles. You must learn what is worth fighting for, because a calculated loss can really build up a lot of happiness in your home. And I know that might sound crazy to a lot of people. If it's the important shit, stand on business. If it's some dumb shit like, oh, well, remember when you said this thing? And even if you don't remember that you said it, or even if you know you didn't say it, does it really fucking matter? And keeping the peace is always infinitely more valuable than always insisting you must be right. It's really not that big of a deal. And people who just learn to keep the peace, sometimes it's okay to just say that you're wrong when you're not, because it's about preserving the peace that you have in your home.
6th, 1995, Pittsburgh.
Not everything
Wheeler
has to be
walks into
fun.
two
It
banks
doesn't
in broad
matter.
daylight, face covered only with lemon juice. He believes this makes him invisible to security cameras. Not a joke. Not mental illness. His IQ test.
And I want to make this very clear. If it's something that happened in reality, right? If it's something that happened in reality, like saying that like, oh, you know, America was founded in 1776. That's one thing that you'll stand on business on, because you never want to deny reality. But whenever you and your partner have a he said, she said argument where there is no proof either of y'all can present, it's okay to forego wanting to fight to make sure they know, no, my perspective's the only perspective. It's all right, bro. At the end of the day, if you don't have proof, then fuck it. Sometimes it's not worth it, bro. Just call it a day, go back to having sex, go back to having fun. You don't need to argue perspectives. It's so toxic.
Normal. Wheeler knew lemon juice works as invisible ink. Write with it. Heat reveals the message. So the logic seemed flawless. If lemon juice makes ink invisible, it should make his face invisible to cameras.
Oh, okay.
He even tested it. Took a Polaroid covered in juice. The photo came out blurry. Proof positive. The juice worked. That evening, his face appeared on the 11 p.m. news. Within an hour, police knocked on his door. When they showed him crystal clear security footage, he stared in genuine shock. But I wore the juice. Psychologist David Dunning read about Wheeler in the newspaper and had an epiphany. This wasn't just one bizarre mistake.
That's crazy.
This was measurable proof of what Socrates had discovered in ancient Athens. Dunning and graduate student Justin Kruger designed an experiment. They tested people on logic, grammar, and humor, then asked participants to estimate their performance. The results were staggering. People who scored in the bottom 12% rated themselves at the 62nd percentile. One participant scored 0 on a logic test and guessed 80% correct.
What?
Meanwhile, people who actually scored in the top 2% underestimated themselves. The pattern was perfect. The less you know, the more confident you are. The more you know, the more you doubt.
Very true.
Why? Judging your own competence requires competence.
The more you know, the more that you will know that you know nothing.
You need knowledge to recognize the absence of knowledge. You need skill to see the gap in skill. Wheeler couldn't spot the flaw in his lemon juice theory because spotting that flaw required an understanding of physics and photography he didn't possess. The general couldn't recognize his shallow grasp of courage because recognizing that gap required the philosophical depth he lacked. Modern psychology had measured what the old stonemason discovered through conversation. The trap is real. The pattern is everywhere, and the consequences can be fatal. You might
Great
think this
video.
is about isolated fools making
Very good
harmless
video so far.
mistakes. You'd be wrong. Researcher Philip Tetlock spent 20 years tracking nearly 28,000 predictions from professional experts. Pundits paid 6 figures to forecast political and economic events. People who appeared on television and advised governments. The results: the more famous the expert, the worse their predictions. Those who spoke with absolute certainty performed worse than random chance, worse than a dart-throwing chimpanzee. But experts who regularly used phrases like "it depends" and "we don't yet know," they performed significantly better. The correlation was perfect. Certainty and accuracy moved in opposite directions. The loudest voices understand the least. The people claiming absolute certainty are advertising their ignorance. Exactly the pattern
That's
Socrates
very
exposed in
interesting.
Athens.
That's very
Your brain
interesting.
isn't designed to pursue truth. It's designed for survival. For your ancestors,
The problem with that, though, is that people love to operate in definites. People love to operate in absolutes. So those who speak in absolutes will have a following that believes them a lot more. When people see hesitancy, they don't assume intellect. They assume, wow, this guy must be retarded. So it is very dangerous because those who are headstrong will lead a lot easier.
hesitation meant death, so your brain takes surface patterns and instantly manufactures what feels like complete understanding. Uncertainty is painful. Quick certainty keeps you alive. This served them brilliantly. It serves you terribly. After thousands of pneumonia cases, a doctor sees cough, fever, fatigue, and instantly thinks, viral infection. That automatic pattern recognition is real expertise, but it creates blindness to rare diseases with similar symptoms. Medical studies show diagnostic errors in 10 to 15% of cases. When doctors estimate their own accuracy, most say 95% or higher. Success in one domain generates confidence that bleeds everywhere. The billionaire thinks business success means he understands politics. The engineer thinks technical ability means she understands medicine.
When they said engineer, I was like, Indian? She looks very Indian adjacent to me.
The politician
Well,
thinks
that's
electoral
coincidence.
victories mean he grasps science. Because they're genuinely competent in their own fields, they never question whether they might be incompetent elsewhere.
Yep.
January 28th, 1986. Engineers at Morton Thiokol have data showing
That's what's always so embarrassing. There was this guy called Regsland in Wuthering Waves because he was very good at Wuthering Waves. People took all of his opinions like very seriously, but the guy was like a complete blathering fucking retard about everything else. He was very good at woo-wah, but that is the problem when people see, oh wow, this guy's really good at one thing. Well, that doesn't mean that he's not going to be retarded at everything else.
O-rings on Challenger's rocket boosters become brittle below 53 degrees Fahrenheit. Launch morning temperature at Cape Canaveral, 36 degrees Fahrenheit. 17 degrees below the safety threshold. The engineers beg NASA to delay, show the data, explain the physics. NASA managers, people who'd overseen dozens of successful shuttle launches, dismiss the concern. They're certain. They'd launched in cold before. A few degrees couldn't possibly matter. 73 seconds after launch, Challenger explodes on live television. The O-rings failed exactly as predicted. 7 astronauts dead. Experience without understanding. Confidence
Jesus.
without wisdom. Certainty without truth.
It's awful.
So how do you fight a trap that seems hardwired into human nature? Socrates developed a technique that terrified the powerful. He asked questions, not to teach. Teaching assumes you have knowledge.
Exactly. Question absolutely everything. There should be no one in this world that you trust more than yourself if you just double check, ask questions, find proof and evidence of absolutely everything. People can make mistakes. Even the most trusted content creators can make mistakes, and even the worst content creators attempt to push agendas. Any information that you find that you think may be too good to be true, always double check absolutely everything. Ask questions, ask for sources, Google it yourself. Really check everything.
To transfer, to expose, to reveal the gap between what people think they know and what they actually understand.
Yep.
You say courage is facing danger. Is the reckless fool who charges to certain death also courageous? You say justice is following the law. What about unjust laws? Should we follow those? You say you know what excellence is. Define it in a way that includes all examples but excludes all counterexamples. Question after question, gentle but relentless. Until the person reached aporia, the moment you realize your certainty was illusion.
Yep.
Your brain treats this like physical pain. Most people recoil, get angry, change the subject, attack the questioner. But it's the only path to genuine wisdom. You cannot learn while certain you already know. The general couldn't learn what courage truly was until he admitted he didn't understand it. The doctor can't improve diagnoses until they admit they might be wrong. The NASA managers couldn't hear the engineers' warnings because their successful track record had made them certain they understood everything. The best performers in Tetlock's study hedged their predictions, not because they knew less, but because they knew how much they didn't know. That awareness created space for doubt. Doubt created space for learning. Before committing to any belief, ask yourself, what would change my mind? If your answer is nothing could change my mind, you've stopped seeking truth. You're protecting ego. You're the Athenian general, certain of your understanding while unable to define it.
I had a buddy who I gave advice to ask their girlfriend what would change their mind about something. And when they responded with nothing, oh man, he went off. I'm not gonna lie. So it's like, oh, so you actually just don't give a fuck whether you're right or wrong. You're just trying to be difficult for no fucking reason. Like, it is so important to ask people that. What could change your mind? And when they say nothing, oh, so you're retarded. Okay, great. Okay, gotcha. So you're an idiot.
Socrates spent 70 years exposing false certainty. In marketplaces, courts, gymnasiums, waking Athens from its comfortable sleep of ignorance. Athens hated him for it. By 70, Socrates had humiliated nearly everyone with power. Generals who...
To be fair, the same logic can be applied to being gay if you're not. Zombie Tank, what the fuck are you talking about? At least bro got the red flag from that immediately? Absolutely, bro, 100%. What do you mean the same logic can be applied to being gay if you're not? Are you giving me the whole, how do you know if poop tastes bad if you've never eaten poop? Well, there's a couple of reasons. I will say, 14 years ago, I did kiss another dude. I did kiss my best friend Trevor on the mouth because 8 women were pressuring us into making out in front of them. And that was also the night I lost my virginity because this girl was so turned on by watching me kiss my best friend, she went upstairs and fucked me like an animal. But I can confidently say, as a man who's kissed another man 14 years ago, man, the magic that you feel that you kiss someone that you love and you're attracted to is completely non-existent. It was as if I was just eating a burger. You know, I'm not feeling sexually attracted to the burger that I'm eating.
Whose understanding he'd exposed as shallow. Politicians whose grasp of justice he'd revealed as confused. Teachers whose wisdom he'd shown as performance. The charges at trial, corrupting youth, disrespecting gods, were theater. Everyone knew the real crime, making powerful people confront their ignorance in public. In a city built on rhetoric and persuasion, he'd spent decades proving the most confident speakers understood the least. He could have apologized, could have promised to stop, could have paid a fine. Instead, he told the jury they should reward him with free meals for life. Why? Because exposing false certainty was the most valuable service anyone could provide.
Yes, sir.
He compared himself to a gadfly stinging a lazy horse awake. The jury voted for death. Even then, escape was easy. Wealthy friends bribed the guards. A ship waited to take him to another city. Socrates refused. Fleeing would prove his philosophy was empty words, pretty theories that collapsed under pressure. If he abandoned his principles to save his life, what did 70 years of questioning mean?
Bro, this guy's the fucking man, holy shit.
On his final day, as Hemlock slowly paralyzed his body from the feet up, he continued asking questions. His last words weren't about justice or wisdom or immortality. They were addressed to his friend. Credo, we owe a rooster to Asclepius. Please don't forget to pay the debt. Asclepius was the god of healing. A rooster was the traditional offering when cured from illness. Even in his final breath, Socrates viewed death not as tragedy, but as a cure. And still, he cared about keeping small promises, about doing what was right.
Fucking aura,
he chose death
bro.
over intellectual dishonesty, death over pretending certainty where he felt doubt, death over abandoning truth when it became uncomfortable. Most people still refuse to ask uncomfortable questions. 24 centuries later, nothing has changed.
Yep.
Elizabeth Holmes stood...
Oh, it's gotten worse every single day. And now with the rise of propaganda machines like every left-wing news media outlet, content creators like Hassan Piker and AI, it's easier than ever just to believe everything and be a complete blathering retard.
Before investors speaking with absolute certainty about revolutionary blood testing technology. Her voice unwavering, her gaze steady, her confidence magnetic. The technology never worked. Not once. But her certainty convinced a former Secretary of State to join her board, a former Secretary of Defense, military generals, accomplished investors.
Jesus.
She raised $700 million. At its peak, Theranos was valued at $9 billion. Thousands of patients received incorrect test results. People made medical decisions based on fraudulent data.
Jesus.
A room full of genuinely accomplished people couldn't distinguish confidence from competence. They didn't know enough about blood testing technology to recognize they didn't know enough. Her certainty filled that gap. It felt like knowledge. It was
Awful.
performance. Pattern Socrates died exposing. The blindness Wheeler experienced. The trap that killed the Challenger crew. So ask yourself, what are you absolutely certain about that you probably shouldn't be? Not hypothetically. Actually pause. What belief would you argue about online? What opinion would you bet money on? What claim have you defended without truly understanding the counterarguments? Can you explain the strongest argument against your position? Not some weak version you can easily dismiss.
Opinion I bet money on, belief I argue online, claim defended without understanding counter arguments. I can think of a lot, but with me, like, you know, I've gotten pretty far in my career understanding that if 96 arrows are all pointing towards something and it is blatantly obvious, I think there's a lot of danger in at least not raising awareness on that. There was something I was recently very certain in that I could not prove. So, like, for example, a couple of months ago, I said that Hassan Piker striked my channel. Now, once again, I want to lay out all the prerequisites for that. The only time I've ever been warned or striked was by talking about Hassan Piker. Let me write this down in pen. So, number one, only time I've ever been striked was for Hassan videos and comments on Hassan. Number two, Hassan has had multiple clips of him threatening to DMCA and start lawsuits against those that oppose him. More Pegasus. Number three, Hassan has a track record of spreading misinformation about me, as well as leaked DMs of him trying to fuck over my career and life. Number four, Hassan Def has the characteristic of someone who would stoop that low. All four of those things connect. Probable cause, personality makes sense. He said that he would do it to other people, including myself, but in the direct report, it does not confirm who's done it. It doesn't tell you who DMCAs you. Sorry, not DMCA. It doesn't tell you who strikes your channel with a violation. It doesn't tell you that. So even though everything lines up with exactly that narrative where he said he was going to do it, it happened when I did it, he has a track record of doing it to other people, and he even has DMs saying that he's outwardly trying to harass me. Unfortunately, it never said on the YouTube, this happened because Hassan. But the problem is arguing in this space where you need such like 99% isn't enough, is very difficult to operate in, because it's like, you know, you're sitting there, right? Like you're sitting there, you're in a house, there's a black guy right next to your wallet. You walk out the room, you come back in, now your wallet's gone, and the black guy, for some reason, has $500 more. You know what I mean? Like, he's the only person there to do it. But technically, I guess some other motherfucker could have broke in, taken the wallet, put it in their pocket, ran out the door, and maybe another guy ran in the house, gave the guy some fucking money, and left. All within the confines of 5 seconds. But the problem is that it's a very low chance. So I think it's fine to assume, but you can never say for sure. Yeah, it's very hard to always operate within 100% certainty. It really is. It is very difficult. But there are things to admit, like, okay, well, I'm only 98% sure. You know what I mean? But still, 98% isn't 100%.
Can you explain the strongest argument against your position? Not some weak version you can easily dismiss, but the most intelligent case someone could make against you? If you can't, you don't understand the topic well enough for strong opinions.
True.
You're performing certainty. You're the Athenian general. You're MacArthur Wheeler. You're everyone that old philosopher exposed. When someone asks about something you haven't studied deeply, practice 3 words. I don't know. Not weakness.
Yep.
In a world drowning in performed confidence, genuine uncertainty is revolutionary. It signals caring more about truth than appearing smart.
And I will say this is so difficult because when things line up so much directly and you're at 99.5% capacity, but that 0.5% admitting you don't know It's very difficult. You know what I mean? It's because concrete evidence is so hard to find when you're in a business full of frauds, criminals, deviants, tricksters, and overall horrific fucking people.
Socrates never wrote anything down. Everything we know comes from students so transformed by his questions that they spent their lives preserving his method. Founded no school, led no army, held no office.
I like to use, I need to look into that more, shows lack of full understanding but willingness to learn. Absolutely.
Built no company, just asked questions. But those questions revealed something that remains true 2,400 years later. The wisest person in any room is usually the one most willing to admit what they don't know. The most dangerous person is the one who mistakes confidence for competence, certainty for truth, performance for wisdom. Wheeler couldn't see lemon juice doesn't make you invisible because seeing that required knowledge he didn't possess. Challenger managers couldn't see 17 degrees mattered because recognizing that required humility their success had destroyed. Holmes's investors couldn't see through her certainty because distinguishing performance from expertise requires expertise they lacked. And you, right now, are overconfident about something important. You just don't know what it is yet. One question still separates wisdom from delusion.
There are some risks that you have to take in life. Like if you were to, once again, I think Socrates is a genius, question absolutely everything. But there are some things that you must operate in confidence for. For example, every single time you cook a steak, right? Every single time you cook a steak, you don't really know if what you're eating is safe. Like it can look cooked, you know, it can smell cooked, it can look well seasoned, but there's always that chance that there's dangerous bacteria in it. So like, you know, how is your steak cooked? Well, I'm pretty sure. I'm not gonna lie. There are some things, you know, I mean, like for example, there's like a virus going on in Texas right now where it gives you explosive diarrhea if you eat broccoli. I don't know if this broccoli is going to give me explosive diarrhea. I just know it's on my plate and I'm going to eat that shit regardless. But like, we don't live in a world where we can operate in full confidence for absolutely everything. So I ain't gonna lie, sometimes if a motherfucker was asking questions about fucking everything in complete absolute totality, that shit would be so annoying. I don't even be eating broccoli though. Oh, okay. Well, it's a juice. No, yeah, there's actually like explosive diarrhea vegetables in Texas. I'm not even kidding you. The parasite causing a nationwide surge in explosive diarrhea is called Cyclospora caetenesis. Biological organism causing intestinal illness known as cyclosporiasis, which is spread by consuming food or water contaminated with feces. It's like, I'm not gonna lie, I literally bought water because I don't feel like having diarrhea right now, just in case. But it's like, I don't know, maybe this water is from that. Is there parasites in it? I don't know, I can't test it. So I'm gonna be confident in assuming that this is safe water. I would assume. The people picking your fruit also wipe with their hand? Well, I sure hope not.
Are you sure you know what you think you know?
Well, I sure hope not.
If this made you uncomfortable, good. That's aporia, where wisdom begins.
Yep.
You cannot learn until you admit you don't already know.
It's true.
Lemon juice doesn't make you invisible. Neither does confidence.
Well, we'll see.
The only thing that saves you from ignorance is the courage to recognize it exists. Modern psychology proved it. Socrates discovered it. It cost him his life. It makes him still the wisest person who ever lived. And maybe, just maybe, asking his question makes you a little wiser than you were 17 minutes ago.
Yep.
The gadfly is dead, but the sting remains.
I will say, Socrates might be really wise, but probably kind of like a buzzkill to hang out with, you know what I mean? Well, is SpongeBob really real? I don't know about this SpongeBob guy.